All right, guys, hope you're doing well. This is Rowlands here from Deep Healing Space. Today we've got a special guest on the podcast. This is Robert Morgan from Chiang Mai. Robert and I went to Thailand in the beginning of my healing process to go and live with Robert. I think I lived with you for about 8 or 9 months. And basically what happened is when I was healing in the first few months after, when I first started, I realized that I was so ill that I couldn't live in England. I was just too stressed out and too sick. So I decided to go and travel the world a little bit to try and get some rest and, some respite from stress and modern day living. And I found myself in Chiang Mai needing some supplements. So I looked on the internet, found Dr. Wilson's website and found Robert was actually living in Chiang Mai. So I ended up meeting him, getting some supplements off him, and the rest is history. He asked me to come and help him on the retreat, but we'll speak about that a little bit more in the video. But first of all, hello, Robert. How are you doing?
Hello, Louis. Good to see your face.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah, having fun here. I'm about 30 kilometers outside of the city and in the mountains, and beautiful property, beautiful flowers and roses, and just a place that has where the vortexes of energy converge underneath the property, and a wonderful place to heal yourself. It's Wi-Fi free. Even the sheets, the cotton sheets, are done with filtered water and fabric cleaners that are work on enzymes and totally toxic free. The water's been checked, triple filtration system. Wi-Fi, the nearest one is 2.5 kilometers away.
Let's talk about the retreat a little bit further down the line, because I'll get it up on the website and we can kind of talk it through with people. But why don't you tell people a little bit about your background, where you come from, what you did when you was younger, because I know you've got like a wealth of knowledge. Out of all the people that I've met through healing and nutritional balancing, Robert's probably one of the people that I've met that has a profound amount of knowledge and experience, not only with nutritional balancing, but just with life in general. When I used to live with him in Thailand, some of the information he used to give me was an absolute godsend. I do genuinely believe that God put me in touch with Robert because I was probably a difficult case, and Robert was probably only a few people that could actually deal with some of the issues that I was suffering from while I was in Thailand. But why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your history, Robert? How you've got into nutritional balancing, where you've got all your knowledge and experience from, because I'm sure they'll be very interested.
Well, I was born in New York and was always very athletic when I was younger, track team, tennis, golf, and I always wanted to maximize my potential. And one thing that I did have when I was younger was an unbelievable appetite. I held all records for eating like 25 pancakes, and when I was home, I couldn't even eat at the table. They had to put me in another room. I would eat off other people's plate. When I was in college on protein, lunch was a whole loaf of whole wheat bread, 10 hamburgers. And then as I began to get older, I said, listen, I can't keep going like this and working out hours a day. And I began getting involved in health and begin reading everything that was out on the market. And from Garden of Eden and all the things, and decided to become a vegetarian, which I was.
How old was you around this time?
Around when I met you, I would say around 23, 24.
Okay.
Years old. So I started becoming a vegetarian and began changing things and reading spiritual books on Vivekananda, Yogananda, Krishnamurti. And it was amazing because I started reading things and it was so different than how I was brought up. It just blew me away. just blew me away how different life really is, what's important, what's reality. I was always very driven. I was the youngest licensed stockbroker in New York, real estate broker. I was a vice president of a major investment banking firm. I started in the insurance field. Was able to work. I always was able to outwork people. Could work 16, 18 hours a day, no problem. And I became very successful in the insurance field, estate planning. And after doing that for about 5 or 6 years, I kind of, I would go to some expensive French restaurants. You pay $100 for a proportion. This is back in the 70s. They slapped some fish with the sauce and everything. I said, I can do this. And then I decided to open up a health food restaurant, but a sophisticated one. In the 60s, it was hairy armpits, hairy legs. I wanted to bring the health food industry up. So I did something very, very high tech and everything. And I remember, well, at that time we had organic wines from that were very low in invert sugar, and we had goat milk frozen yogurt and wonderful things. And I think the first one to do cappuccino, banana soya pancakes. And I was very fortunate to have all these, a lot of the, that came in, John Lennon, Yoko, Gloria Swanson, who was married to Bill Duffy, Sugar Blues. He would come into the restaurant. Dr. Alan Cott, wonderful, wonderful man with.
You set up this restaurant. You set this restaurant with the funds that you earned when you was doing real estate.
Yeah, when I got insurance, I had a lot of renewals and $50,000-$60,000 a year coming in and some money. So I set this up to do a restaurant and got involved with someone and wanted to have a place where I could really eat. You know, it was called salubrious foods, healthy and wholesome foods. And it became very popular fast. It was written up in New York Magazine and the Village Voice, et cetera, because it was something new. It started, after that, a lot of the sophisticated restaurants opened up. But I was one of the first ones to do that. And it was really good. And I remember Gloria Swanson looking in my kitchen and seeing, could you imagine in 1976 coming in and seeing if I had aluminum pans, she would have walked out of the restaurant, and I had stainless steel. So I was really up. I was using a Norwalk press because I knew that you can keep the juices longer. There was less centrifugal force. It was fantastic. So this was a great idea. And we had all the healthiest people come in, et cetera.
And this was a vegetarian restaurant?
It did have. We had, interesting enough, in those days, there wasn't so much mercury in the fish, but we had freshly poached tuna, freshly poached salmon salad. Wow. So everything was over there. And it was just the beginning of the health food industry in New York. So you didn't get regular deliveries. They'd come one day late, in the middle of the day, et cetera. So we were just converting onto that and everything. So it was a great experience to do. And I always wanted to do it. I was always involved in health. And then after having that for a couple of years, a friend of mine came in and he said, hey, listen, you used to be a great salesman, man a year from Mutual of New York, some millions of dollars of life insurance. Why don't you work for me? I'm in the bond business. So I said, you can make money in the bond business? Yeah, I made over $2 million last year. So I said, okay, I'll try it. And then I became very successful in that. So this is okay. But I always had a conscience. I was always had high integrity with people. And I remember the manager when I was the vice president of Smith Barney Harris Upham, one of the top firms. And the manager would say to me, sell this new issue to your clients. I said, no problem. Show me the buy order for your mother, and I'll do it. And one day, they had 50 offices with fluorescent lights. And I knew that fluorescent lights were burning out the adrenal glands. So I snuck in one evening, changed it. Now I have different lighting than the other 50 offices. Yeah.
Well, what was that? So this is in the 80s.
This is in the yeah. Well, this is about 81, 82.
Wow,
Yeah.
you were ahead of the time, man.
Ahead of the time, you know. And I knew all about smoking and everything, you know. So I had air filters in my office. I used to wear gas masks to meetings if people smoked. So I was a little ahead of my time. I shouldn't say this, but sometimes I would even pull down my pants and fart onto it, you know, that was smoking. Cleaner. This is cleaner than your smoke. And then the owners of the high-rise buildings realized that the smoking was doing so much damage that it was costing them 50, 75,000, 100,000 a year to clean the filters. Then that whole industry started. But I had to live through all this thing over whole insanity.
Where was you getting all your information from? Fluorescent lights were no good.
Well, I did everything that was out. You know, everything that was out on health. I had a thirst for reading every spiritual book, thousands of books. I was always reading.
So it must have been books, right? Because the internet wasn't around that back then. So
Absolutely.
Through books.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is all books, and then I realized that everything was copied from one. You know, they had like the Garden of Eden, and then I saw newer books, and they were all copied from the original books with no backup. So everybody was copying everybody else, and to sift through all these things to see what was right. So slowly, doing my own thing, doing fasting, juice. Grape juice fast, watermelon fast, you name it, I tried it. Doing coffee enemas in the 70s. You know, even I remember in the late 60s, I got a facial. You know, I remember, and that was very few guys were doing that. I was pretty much ahead of my time, and I had a water filtration system. I had a distiller in New York, and everyone said, "Oh, New York water, great." And every time I distilled the water, there was sludge about a half an inch in the distiller. So this was another thing. And I was even ozonating my vegetables then, sealed up all my windows, had plants, and had 6 Pioneer air filters in my house. So I didn't have the most money in New York, but definitely the cleanest air, for sure. So I was always there changing my environment.
Nice.
So then eventually, I after Wall Street, time for me to go out to California, and then I had training in reflexology, Bill Flocal, American Academy of Reflexology, David Allen, a chiropractor. Oh, these were the best, and I studied from 3 people and had some of the best training that was available in America. And trained on the hands, feet, and the ears. And I did that for a while. It was wonderful because you just work on a person and they feel better. End of story. You know?
That's it. That's what people like.
You'll get involved in nutritional balancing, and you have people write down what they eat every day. Well, they can talk about their sex life easier than they can about what they eat. And now you're getting into what they're doing, everything. You're bringing up a lot of things to people. Very difficult, but we mix all these things in together. I also didn't mention that I had psychoanalysis in my 20s for about 8 years with, some of the best from Harvard, which I'm glad I went through the experience. That's all that I can say about that. So, and as we know, minerals are related to emotions. So you change the minerals and emotions to balance. So that to me a little bit is, I used to do my yoga practice a few hours a day, meditation a few hours a day. I even got involved at one point with microbiotics, where you would cut the vegetable at a certain time during the day to maximize and cut it a certain way. And finally, I had to stop working because I didn't have time to work with all my therapies and cooking and everything. Oh, that's just so crazy. So then,
what interested? because obviously you're looking after yourself and your healing and your work aspect, and you put so much weight on the healing aspect. Was that because you saw it as like a higher thing to do for yourself, or like it's what the universe or God wants you to do, or you was just right? It was like more of a hobby to you than anything else.
I don't know. I was just drawn to it. I was just always maximize one's potential and everything, and then it just happened step by step by step. And then I kind of got annoyed at myself because I would make $1 million, lose $1 million, like a roller coaster. Make it, destroy it, make it, destroy it.
$1 million.
A few times, yeah. And it would become so boring. Why should I do it if I'm going to destroy it? So I had to work on things as far as one's self-worth and feel like you deserve to have things, and it's your birthright to be happy and peaceful. And that's what I was working on. And then I remember I went to India for 5 years and had a little at a Tibetan vegetarian nouveau cuisine restaurant, partnered with Tibetan. Even my yoga studio was made with the cow dung and the old school and everything. So I went through many different phases in 5 years in India, which is a real trip. I tell you, when I was doing some deep yoga practices, I got so sick. I caught everything in me with dysentery, Giardia, a touch of Pepe. I couldn't even walk for 2 weeks. I checked myself in, and slowly I began to find the remedies for all these things. The natural remedies for all these things. And I was able to help a lot of people with that. So that was good. So I was in Bali for I met with shaman and healers in the mountains. They remedies all around the world. Even in Australia, I met a Filipino psychic surgeon. I saw actually go through 3 times. I watched, put their hand right in my body and took out stuff from the liver. If it was a trick, it was the best I've ever seen.
What did he do? He did what? Put his hand inside?
Right into my liver, yeah, and took stuff out, blood and some stuff out, and I was wearing short sleeves. And if it was a trick, I paid for it 2 more times that day, $75. Fantastic, And I said, "Can I learn this too?" She says, "No, only." She was one of the few people. She was Australian woman, and she was one of the few outsiders that had the gift for that. So that stuff really works because everything vibrates, and of course, if you can vibrate at that level and everything, great. So I've seen a lot of things happen. I've done things to help a lot of people with the healing, but there are no shortcuts. Okay, from all going in, there's no. When I used to spend $800,000 a month on antioxidants in the 80s and do all these gimmick things, I still couldn't balance myself doing hours of yoga. I couldn't imagine, why do I have to try so hard to be balanced, And then about 10 years ago, I did a hair test, and I was low in calcium, I was low in magnesium, low in selenium, in all.
How did you get the hair test? You just came across it on the internet or speaking to someone?
No. I had some yo-yo. I went to a hospital. I usually have my ears cleaned once in a while. So I had someone that said, "No, don't use the water. Use this little metal thing over there." And then I was getting headaches. I went to 2 neurosurgeons, et cetera. And then I went to some friends of mine that were practitioners, people that are new here that were NB practitioners, and very nice people. And they did craniosacral work, and they were becoming balanced. I said, "What laboratory?" And I realized I took a hair test 35 years before. And I looked at it and I put it in, but I wasn't ready for it at that time. I just looked, very interesting. So I had to do everything else first because we don't search for the truth. But for a process of elimination, we're led to it. So I did you name the therapy, I tried it. From past life regressions to getting demons out of you, but you name it, I tried it, So I finally came to something that I stuck with, and it was the biochemistry, having it balanced. Okay, and when the biochemistry is balanced, everything is easier to do. It's like if you're a world-class a racing car driver and you have a jalopy, I mean, you can only do the best with it. You have to have good machinery. So when people say they don't have to take care of the body is a vehicle here. Why spend so much time on it? Why have to convert things that aren't good? Have the body work for you. It's a way of communicating, and then spend more time going.
Yeah, so I suppose I just wanted to briefly touch on that a little bit more, because obviously you've done so much over the years, like huge amounts. I mean, I lived with you for a while, and some of the things that you used to tell me was just unbelievable. Even when I had brain fog, I was just shocked. You know, a 21-year-old that got brought up in a bit of a cotton wool environment, very scientific. I didn't know anything really. I was fairly open-minded and experienced, but at the same time naive. And meeting someone like you, it was a bit of an eye-opener.
You were like a little rabbit. Remember, you built the Faraday cage. You had to.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later on. I just wanted to highlight. So basically, you've gone through all of these different therapies, different experiences. You know, right. I'm sure hundreds, if not thousands, of books, and you finally stumbled across nutritional balancing. And I can tell you now, you know, obviously from someone that has been with you, you know, like side by side, you are completely 100% dedicated to nutritional balancing. Why don't you just try and explain to people why you think what Dr. Wilson's created and Dr. Eck is so kind of powerful compared to all the other different things out there at the moment?
One, it encompasses so many things. One, you have diet, which is important. You have environment, that's important. You have personal relationships, that's important. You have energy, that's important. So this is why we recommended the downward pushing exercise, where you bring heaven to earth. Because today there's so much electronic equipment around. We're on high rises. You need to do the right meditation. If you're doing things from 2,000 years ago, not fitting in today, things are changing. So we want to bring the energy downward. We want to ground, because the English word uptight, upset, right? What happens? Energy going up into the head. What happens? You're coming out of the present. So this is a wonderful technique to begin breaking childhood patterns, because you're going into the past. So every time after a second you start going into the past, which is guilt, or the future, which is fear, you begin training yourself. I see what's happening. I'm not going to let that monkey mind rule me. And you push the energy down, and you breathe in and out of your toe breathing and everything. And you're beginning slowly, day by day, to break the patterns. It's a wonderful thing. And it's not even a comfortable meditation, but you feel great afterwards. This is the meditation for ecstasy or whatever. It's a specific technique for the 21st century. So this is important. There's so many, for example, the Yogi Rishis ate chapatis 2,000 years ago, but wheat is a different product today. Probably it was, 20% of the protein was there. So a lot of things that worked in the past are not working today. So we need to update everything.
Managed to encompass that, obviously. Is hundreds of tests every week. You know, he's constantly updating the program. You know, people need to realize that it gives his information away for free. His website has no advertisements. You know, he's not in it for the money like a lot of these people out there are doing. You know, at the end of the day, everything you see that's been created by nature, by God, by the universe has a has an absolute precision to it. The trees, the plants, the animals, a waterfall, there's a very extreme precision, and the human is no different to that. You know, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, there's a certain jigsaw puzzle that we need to get together. But people need to realize that, like you say, we're living in the 21st century. We know we've got massive amounts of toxins. You know, we've got this victim mentality. You know, we're living surrounded by hundreds of people every single day that are giving off infections. You know, loose ideas about sex. So we're in a completely different environment to, let's say, what, you know, in Christ's time, where the Bible is. You know, there's obviously some amazing things in the Bible, and that's one thing. One reason why it's such a popular book is because it's integral. It allows people to have a kind of guideline, you know. But we are living in the 21st century, and there's new things to look at. You know, the yin and yang balance is a big one. For example, we're living in a really yin environment, and it needs to be more yang. So yeah,
that things were so healthy years ago, like more fruit, more things. It's not that it's a bad product; it's just wrong today what to do. And remember that the analytical labs has done over 1 million hair tests in 40 years. That's a big database. So Dr. Eck saw 200,000 hair tests.
Sure.
Dr. Wilson maybe over 60,000. So we have so much input that's put in, and it's a forensic science. We can see things. You know, the blood shows toxic metals, but it can go out in there one day, out the next. The hair can show toxic metals, but we can show by ratios that the hidden toxic metals. We can show that you have I had hidden copper, and it didn't show up in the hair until 2 years later. And then it was very quick. Copper went up 2,000% for a couple of months. And I was laughing because when a woman's having a menstrual cycle, copper goes up. So you're all very sensitive to everything. And I was laughing because I said, well, maybe I'll fall off the bed tonight while I'm sleeping. Have my head. But it was so funny. I was laughing because I understood. I wasn't afraid. I saw exactly what was happening. So
that's an interesting point, is to realize that a lot of the way that we think and our personality patterns and the way that we react to things are often due to our unbalanced biochemistry and mercury and arsenic and copper. So, you know, it happens to me when I'm going through a weird time where I might feel anxious or I might not be able to sleep. I'm not attached to that emotion anymore. Hello?
Yes.
You know, yeah. I'm not attached to the emotion anymore. I can see it for what it is. I know it's some sort of toxic metal that's causing havoc. So it's very interesting.
And cell phones were just there. Every time there was a call, they didn't have enough towers. I had to dash 50 meters and climb up a tree house. I mean, it's fantastic how it's moving along. So,
all right, awesome. So why don't we talk a little bit about the retreat? Because, so when I went to Thailand in, I don't know when it was, 2012, quite a while back now, 2013 maybe. As I said, I was traveling around. I was actually in Bangkok.
Yep.
And I needed to get some supplements. So I checked out Dr. Wilson's website, found Robert, sent Robert an email. He was like, yeah, I've got supplements in stock. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll come and buy some off you. Ended up hiring a scooter, drove from Bangkok to Chiang Mai on a scooter. It's quite an impressive journey. I think there's something like 300 bends on the route from Bangkok to Chiang Mai. And I ended up meeting Robert inside a hotel. I think he's disappeared again. Yeah, I ended up meeting Robert, and he says, oh, come and meet me at this restaurant. Met him at this 5-star hotel in Chiang Mai. And I was walking around and I was like, oh, I don't know where he is. I don't know what he looks like. And then this guy was running around the hotel. I think he was 10-15 minutes late or something, running around with a big bag of supplements. And I remember it crystal clear. And we sat down, we had a good chat, we're talking about the program. He handed out the supplements, and then he was like, oh, you know, I'm thinking about setting up a retreat in Thailand, or I'm looking for some help with the nutritional balancing. Would you be interested in coming to help me out? You know, I've got some knowledge on computers and websites and all that kind of stuff. And I remember saying to myself, because I knew how sick I was. I knew that I was in an extreme. I was very, very ill. And I remember thinking to myself, I thought, do you know what? If I can't heal myself living with a nutritional balancing practitioner, then I don't know what's going to fix me. You know, I've got no idea. So I was like, look, do you know what? I'm not here to travel the world. You know, this is not going to happen. I'm just here to fix myself. So I just decided to leave my friend that I was traveling with and moved to Chiang Mai. which was interesting because I ended up, I remember saying to you, look, I'll come and live in Chiang Mai and work with you. And I went to Laos, I went to Laos for a month, and I ended up buying a MacBook computer, a laptop MacBook. And that was the first time when I really experienced EMF. So I remember traveling back to Thailand. I ended up getting a hotel in the middle of Chiang Mai, and I just couldn't sleep for like a week. I had like terrible insomnia for about a week in the middle of Chiang Mai because I had like extreme EMF sensitivity. I remember walking out onto my balcony in that hotel, and I looked on the roof, and there was a phone mast on top of where I was stopping. It was crazy. So I remember me and Robert was basically traveling around Chiang Mai trying to find somewhere that didn't have any Wi-Fi or anything. And I think we exhausted ourselves. I think we were searching like constantly for like 2 or 3 days, and we ended up exhausting ourselves and found a little place called Ub Un. I remember it. I love the people there because then I ended up becoming really good friends with them. And they just had one Wi-Fi. They had 2 Wi-Fis, I think, or 1 Wi-Fi router. It was still difficult for me to live there, but it was all right. I managed to live there for a while. I ended up getting a Faraday cage, but we'll talk about that after.
Having a little rabbit, you were so cute. You used to go into the Faraday cage, and you were okay. I couldn't believe it. Really, yeah. You had such great determination.
Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. But first, I want to talk about the retreat, because this is a major thing. What Robert does is he actually has built a nutritional balancing retreat. When I was in Thailand living with Robert, I had the pleasure of helping him set up his first retreat in Chiang Mai. And when I left and came back to England, he decided to move to a different location. So why don't we talk about the retreat a little bit, Robert? Why don't you tell everyone about the retreat, the accommodation, the features, maybe a little bit about its history and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, about a year ago, through the grace of the gods or whatever, I found a place up in a mountain on about 3 Rai, about 30 kilometers out of Chiang Mai, and unbelievable energy. And this is what I wanted. I wanted the environment to be clean. I wanted it to be free of Wi-Fi. The closest tower is 2.5 kilometers away. I didn't want to have dirty electricity. And my good friend Jeremy Johnson, who's an EMF expert, came and stayed for 3 weeks with 7 pieces of equipment. In the morning when I put on my computer, he said, "Sorry, Robert, I had to turn off all the electrical currents, straighten that out." And we even found that the new washing machine that I had, because of the equipment in it, was emitting EMF radiation while it was on. So all these new gizmos that you have, all these electric cars, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I just wanted to have a place where kind of my own monastery where I can come and the environment is really peaceful. So we can see things clearly. So you can smell the roses, so you can look at the flowers, so you can just be on the land. Because when I was on Wall Street, and I used to go away to the Caribbean, I remember in the early 80s, New York was dirty, and I come back and oh, this is so dirty, And then after a day, 2 days, a week, I got used to it. So a lot of people get used to it because their living is based on it. They have family. They're working in conditions. So I want to give people to give their brain a rest where they can come out of all this equipment. And I see places in the mountain that brought Wi-Fi and everything, that they're beautiful places. And it's like being in Bangkok with Wi-Fi. They have big cows next to it and everything. So I wanted a place where someone could feel very safe, where energetically it was safe, where there were no threats around. You can be yourself. And the best way to grow in awareness and spirituality is having an environment that isn't aggressive, that you don't have to defend against anything. And then everything else falls into place. So we sussed out, we get all organic foods, even the coffee enemas. I have a Starbucks brand. We had to double, triple check it, that it was okay. The water's been checked for purity. We have 2-3 water filtration systems. All the sheets are cleaned with the filtered water and organic products. So we try to keep it as clean as possible. Any of the lamb, we get it all free range and everything. And I also have ozone machines I can put the vegetables in to if I'm unsure of anything, kill the bacteria. By the way, if you put vegetables in ozone, it's very good. It kills the bacteria that last 2-3 times longer. And all these countries are using things like glyphosate, Roundup. We're free from that here. Won't kill you right away, but Monsanto lost recently, I heard, a $30 million lawsuit. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. People are too busy to think about it, but you can't. I think the food industry makes the politicians look like saints. So it's kind of buyer beware. So the main thing is this place is great for healers because healers are involved with so many people and they need to be very centered so they can come here and also who's taking care of the healers.
I'm going to share my screen so we can have a look at some of the pictures. All
Wonderful. Right. Great.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, can you see that?
Yeah. So
this is one of the rooms.
Yeah, the rooms are very simple. Actually, there's 2 rooms there. We use all cotton fabrics. I have air filters with ionizers. If they're ever burning a little something in the woods or something, just close the windows and put it on. So we're set for everything. Most of the rooms have air conditions, which generally, because it's the mountain, isn't necessary. So we just try to keep a very simple, friendly environment. Okay, so there we go. Some of the bathrooms, some of the kitchen. Sorry about some of the plastic bottles, but we import some Italian spring water that I find has a very good calcium magnesium ratio. Okay, here's a place, a dining area, a sleeping area. Yep. Okay, we get more things out there.
Some facilities. So
there
gardens.
We go. Oh yeah, there's the gardens over there. There's a lot more flowers now that's there because I've been working on the garden for a year. A lot more color. On the left, you see the near infrared sauna. That's wonderful. It's in a teak wood sauna, and a lot of space there. So very nice to spend time there. This is just a little section over there, a little section.
Just to note, who was the guy that came to the retreat?
Jeremy.
The guy?
Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah.
So he actually tested the saunas right for the EMFs, and they was pretty much zero.
So one of the saunas, a little bit of the towel was hitting the sauna. So we put up netting that I had from China, some material that was 20% silver, 80% rayon. You remember those nets we were building, and I block it out. So we're really conscious of everything that's going on there. A matter of fact, recently, 2 little houses were built away from me, and they wanted to put up electrical poles near the house, and I had to pay for it. Unfortunately, I made it put it underground, so the view, everything is safe. So
that's it. Yeah, this is what I mean when I say to people, Robert is completely dedicated to nutritional balancing and healing. You go above and beyond, to ensure that everything's pristine and perfect and pure. It's really good.
Let's mention something. I take the responsibility for testing things. Even when I did my hair testing in the beginning, I sent it under 2 different names. A different kind. We came within 2% of each other. The supplements from Endomet Laboratory. Look, everybody has mystical formulations and everything, but these formulas, if there was something wrong, would come out because you see 10, 20,000 people using them, and it would come out in the hair test and everything. And they tested for mold, and they tested for this. And one thing recently I found out there, kelp they rejected because the laboratory's out of kelp now because they found too much arsenic in it. So they rejected the whole batch and sent it back. And this is what you want. You want a practitioner that's looking out for you and not saying, oh, it was the company's fault or this fault. You really want someone that you can trust, and not because they're not only that they're trustworthy, but they really cover your back. And like if I recommend sauna for myself, I've done 1,500 saunas or so. Okay, well, you do coffee enemas for 2-3 years. Now, some people can do more, some people can do less. There's always exceptions to things. But I think personal experience is very, very important. So,
we got a meditation room here.
Oh, a beautiful little meditation. Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I tell you, this is totally electronic. It's one room. It's totally electronic free and everything. Wonderful, wonderful. A great place to meditate, you know.
And then we got a lounge area.
A lounge area over there. We can be used for yoga. We have 4 different kitchens. Yeah, so every
food.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about food?
Oh,
I know
food.
you're really diligent when it comes to the food on the retreat.
Yeah, there's some free-range lamb, organic vegetables, organic olive oil. So everything is sort of, and many of the stuff I have tested myself if I'm unsure of, to make sure. So it's a great place to come and have all these things available to you, because when you travel, you go to the best 5-star hotels. You can't get the food. You can't get the clean. You know, you can get food you're not going to get sick on because it doesn't have molds in it or something, but it's not organic and it has pesticides and other things. Now, these little things here were all tested by Jeremy, who really unbelievable.
Yeah, so this is going to really help a lot of people, because a lot of my clients are EMF sensitive individuals, because they see me on YouTube and they know how extreme my sensitivity was. I mean, I was so bad I had to sleep in a metal box for a long while. It was severe. So a lot of people watching this video will probably be EMF sensitive. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you've tried to do on the retreat? I know you've spoke about it, you know, throughout the video somewhat, but why don't you just tell people what's actually been done on the retreat to make it super low EMF?
Well, we tested it with 7 different meters just to make sure how everything was. We tested the cell file from 2.5 kilometers away, and it hit one of the rooms on the 2nd floor. Was hit a little bit. Now you have to look. It wasn't really high ratio, but I moved the bed and I blocked it out with a net and everything. So we're very conscious of what's going on. So we don't have to put up nets or anything. You can just be yourself. You don't have to defend. And when you don't have to defend, it's much easier to receive love and everything and energy when you're not defensive and you feel, hey, I'm not being bombarded by secret electronic stuff. I'm not being bombarded by relationships or having to defend against this or that. I can just be myself, concentrate on myself, and do whatever's necessary to do my own healing. And we want people to be empowered, you know, to push it, and no commission off the pushing down exercise, maybe in another plane or something. But we want people to be empowered. We want you to control your energy. And so this is it. We use, you take supplements, all right? If you're disciplined, not a big thing. Food's a little something. If you have a lot of discipline, you eat the right foods, okay? But it goes beyond that, all right? And that's, we begin to develop people. Once they get the biochemistry pretty balanced, then we begin developing it and going into where they can move their own etheric energy themselves and heal themselves. You know, this is a wonderful thing. Awesome. But you know, you need to clean out the toxic metals, other things. And by the way, even though I only test for arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury, the program is unbelievable because there's millions of plastics and things out there. But the program addresses everything, even nuclear radiation with the the near-infrared sauna helps to kill off the dead cells and everything. So I was amazed that the program relates to everything. Now, Dr. Wilson's written a lot, 1,500 articles. So you don't have to agree with everything that he says about this, about political views, but so much great information over there. And what I like about him is that when he sees something, he's willing to change. And how many people, as they get older, you see a physician, they have a great practice, they're making $500,000 a year, and they don't want to change anything. They're afraid, you know? And how about if they find out that what they're doing wasn't so good? You know? Larry Wilson found that years ago when he was the head of a fasting detox in Mexico. And he found some of the therapies not enough. And we're seeing it. We're seeing this with raw food. Now, there's some people that could become fruitarians do great, 1 or 2%, or raw food or things like that. But it's not for everybody. You know, you have to see where are we now, and what do we really need. That's it. So I was vegetarian for 38 years. So when someone tells me that being a vegetarian is more spiritual, whatever, something like that, I've only been a vegetarian 2 years. Okay, come back after 30 years. So not that there's anything wrong with it. You know? People have to do what they need to do, but they should have a roadmap. And a nutritional balance gives you a roadmap. And you always get 1 or 2 things. So even now, I know, like my last hair test, which 40, 50, but whatever, I know my oxidation rate changed before I changed my program. I knew I went from fast to slow. I can tell I was getting a little tired in the afternoon and this and that. And I said, yeah, okay, change it, make the adjustment. And eventually, your intuition, what we want to do here is make you more aware, more independent. Well, we have something about yourself here and what made you, you know, and all the craziness you were going through. Unfortunately, I had the training. I remember when you were afraid.
Yeah, all right. So yeah, I was going to move on to this. Like,
okay.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about like how the retreat has helped some people, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people watching this that watch my videos day in, day out, and I know that they're really interested about some of my background and stuff. So, you know, why don't you tell them a little bit about what happened to me and how you managed to deal with it? Because yeah, like you say, if it would have happened anywhere else, I would have probably been put in hospital. So take it away.
It wasn't really stressful for me because I remember you were afraid you were going to die because you couldn't sleep. And then
I was going through a detox reaction at this point. I was going through an intense detox reaction. My copper level was through the roof. I'd moved into a 4 lows pattern because I was doing the program really well.
Absolutely. So I remember you sleeping on a futon next to me over there, and I said, Louis.
Yeah, I wasn't living. I was living in my own place. I was so scared that I wanted to go and sleep with Robert.
Yeah. So no problem. So I'm looking and I said, you know, Louis, I did a 40-day water fast about 15 years ago. 40 days, just water. And the last 3 days of the fast, the last 3 weeks of the fast, I didn't have to sleep more than an hour a day. My waking, sleeping hours were just the same. I didn't die. I knew Louis was okay. So when it was pressure from your parents to come back home, to do this, to do that, to go to the hospital, I said, don't worry, you're going to get through this. And you had such determination. This is it. You had great determination that no matter what happened, you had faith that if you followed everything, and very few people going through this can do. And I remember one thing that you did the meditation every day. Unbelievable. People going through copper dumps like that, they're lucky if they can sit still for 2 minutes. You kept doing that. You kept doing it. You had terrific faith that everything was going to be all right. Look how you turned out. Fantastic. Unbelievable. You know, so thank goodness for all my crazy experiences that I was able to see what was going on. It didn't panic me, you know, and I said, hey, you're going to be okay. So, and we're okay.
Yeah, well, I got there in the end. But for anyone wondering, yeah, I obviously lived with Robert, and when I was with Robert, I don't think Robert realized how sick I actually was when I first started working with him. I had tremendous amounts of brain fog. I remember I used to work for him. I used to get everything wrong. I just couldn't. I was putting the supplements through, putting the supplement orders through, and Robert had to double check and triple check, and but my heart was in the right place, but my brain was not even functioning.
I knew there was something here, and for me it was great. I said, "Hey, I'm paying this guy a salary. I'm taking care of him like my son." Okay, but that's the way life goes, You can't look at it that way. Look how you turned out. Fantastic.
Yeah, you saw the essence in me. Well, I see it now. Some people have that kind of essence, and you just know that they're going to do well. And I think I was probably one of the individuals that had that inside of them, where they was just willing to do whatever it took to get through it, and they was passionate about healing, and they understood the program well. Some people that follow the nutritional balancing program, some people start the program and they've just instantly got it. I think that's one thing that Robert saw in me when I first met him at the hotel, was he could see that I had a passion for what I was doing in nutritional balancing, even though I struggled somewhat. And I feel like it's really important to try and cultivate that essence, because as practitioners, there's so much information to learn. I mean, one thing that I did, I was with Robert and he was helping me out, but I was reading the articles every single day. I was listening to Dr. Wilson's audio. Do you know what I mean? I was doing the program myself. Like, the practitioner can't, the practitioner can't be there every step of the way. You've got to cultivate your own will to get better, and I think that's something.
He had lectures that he did years ago. They weren't even on CDs. It was before. It was on cassettes. And I listened to 25 things. And he was talking about being in and out about 20 years before, it became a very popular thing. So I think the thing is to do your homework. I spent thousands of myself, and I know you too, thousands of hours of reading, trying to understand it, and also being open up to our own personal observations, and realize that people are individuals. I remember when I take a quarter, couldn't sleep for a day or two. I said, okay, sometimes it's 1 out of 100. So you go slowly, you go back, start with one supplement, you build it up slowly. Especially people that have thyroid condition, you got to go very, very slowly.
And like you said before, healing's not something that happens overnight. It takes years. You know what I mean? Took me a good 4 or 5 years before I felt fairly normal again. But so there's no quick fixes out there.
It's not a self-help program. You do need guidance, okay? No matter how you cue it, you do need guidance. And then you need a place for practical experience, because right information without proper execution. Proper execution with right information, wow, winning combination. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
I think everything is good.
Awesome. So, all right. Well, I think we're going to probably leave it there. I think we've kind of got everything. We've said a lot of things. Is there anything else you wanted to leave on? Obviously, you need to tell everyone about how they can get in touch if they want to, come on the retreat or anything like that.
They can just go www.consciousliving.ltd.com.
Cool. And there's a contact form on there. Conscious Living LTD.
Anybody that wants to call me directly outside Thailand, +6681
23714. If you want to email direct, it's contact@consciousliving.ltd.com. All right, guys.
Yeah, okay. I think that also, if they need a real fast response, let me give them my personal email. Okay, RPM Chiang Mai at gmail.com.
Cool. RPM Chiang Mai at gmail.com. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I'm sure you found this video super interesting. Thanks, Robert, for coming on. Maybe we'll get you on again in the future.
You even look younger than last time. You've been doing
what, when I first met you?
Younger, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely in a better position now than what I was in Thailand, but that's how things roll. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Tune in next time. If you want to work with me or get in touch with me, please email me, lewis@deephealingspace.com. Apart from that, tune in next time. I'll speak to you all soon. Ciao.
Okay, Lewis, we can talk privately.